Hi, thanks for watching. Today, I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown and review of Newvelle Records. This is Newvelle Records Season 4. It's a subscription series. It was a subscription series. COVID seems to have paused or altered their model, so I'm not sure what the status of it is, but you can still get these records. So it's not a totally deprecated review here. Before that, however, a big thank you and a shout out to YouTube users Werk, W-E-R-K, and Xentakis for correctly identifying the Bill Charlap Trio Street of Dreams, which was in the last video in the Mystery Place of Honor. This is a new album, and the review today is about some newish music from 2018. That's pretty new. And certainly a departure from the jazz audiophile reissue of the reissue of the reissue of the reissue of the remaster of the album that was recorded in 1954. So we're going to start doing, I'm going to start doing some reviews of newer music on this channel from time to time, and I hope you enjoy this. We'll also do one of the Bill Charlap Trio Street of Dreams album that came out December 17th, I believe. If you're curious, I'll just say this. If you like the piano trio format, which is piano, upright, acoustic bass, and drums, if that's generally something that you like, you will not be disappointed if you pick up this album. So before I get into the Newvelle series and what it is and what you get for the money, if you want to play along here, I've got another album up here. If you want to tell what it is in the comments, please leave a comment, and I will mention you in the next video here. So what are the Newvelle Records, or what is Newvelle Records? Newvelle Records is based out of New York City, and it collects contemporary jazz musicians, people that are out there working today, not necessarily super famous names if you are living outside of New York or Boston, an area where there's a big thriving jazz scene, and puts them in the studio and captures what jazz sounds like in this case, in 2018. If you're listening to new music that's being made by people that are, some of them are up and coming on the scene, some of them are established on the scene, and what is it sounding like if you go out to listen to it? I think that's kind of the ethos of the Newvelle Records project. At the time that I subscribed in 2018, the model was it was an annual subscription, $400, and you got 6 records. So every other month you get a record, and you didn't know what you were going to get necessarily. I think they said who the artists were going to be, who the session leaders were going to be, but we didn't get audio clips or anything like that. So just kind of a mystery what showed up, and so that breaks down to $66.67 per record. It's pretty steep. I'll talk more about that toward the end of the video. These are available still. Season 4, you can buy the whole thing for $400. You can also buy the records individually now, which wasn't the case at the time, for $65. So it's actually, save yourself $1.67 if you buy the records individually. What you miss out on is the giant box that they came in. And I hate those things in box sets, the collector's box. But if you like that, I guess you would be missing out on that. So the records that you get are a little bit, they're interesting. They sound great. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of the clear vinyl. This is pressed at QRP, quality record pressing. So it's a great pressing. All of these arrived in really good shape. They look great. They sound great. This is not any of the new age like clarity vinyl. This isn't the MoFi SuperVinyl formulation. That's like a gray color. It's not the the special vinyl that's supposed to be quiet. This is just clear vinyl. Sometimes this color I think is referred to as like Coke bottle clear vinyl. I don't know why they put it on this color vinyl, frankly. I'd rather have it on black. That's kind of the classic look. It also makes it really hard to see, and this is super nitpicky, but you know, it makes it hard to see if you just want to listen to track 3 on this. Very difficult to see where that begins when you have a totally transparent vinyl record. But that right off the bat kind of suggests that this Newvelle series isn't really intended specifically for jazz audiophile dorks like me. This is a series that I think is meant more for people who are fans of the music. And so some of the choices made there aren't about the ultimate in audio quality, and they're more about trying to give you an experience. So let's look at what that experience is. First album I got, Noah Preminger, tenor sax player. Jason Moran, piano player, had one of the top albums of the year this year. Kim Cass, Marcus Gilmore. This is a real high-powered ensemble here. Here's the back of the record, and it's got the track list down here. We have this nice kind of abstract oil painting on the cover, and then it's a gatefold and more abstract painting in the middle here. These were advertised as these luxury jackets. So let me show you what that means. I've got Dexter Gordon's Clubhouse Tone Poet here, which is another sort of deluxe gatefold jacket. And you can see it is a little bit longer. You can see the white on the edge here, and it is significantly taller. Why? I could not tell you. One of the effects of the tallness is that it is very difficult to get into outer sleeve. If you like to put your records in some sort of protective outer sleeve like I do, it's a super tight squeeze to get it into just like a bag type sleeve. This one, the ones that I use, vinyl style, it doesn't quite fit. It sticks up a little bit above the top. If you like to use the Vinyl Storage Solutions super clear pocket jackets that I learned about from Michael Ludwig's, aka 45 RPM audiophile, they don't fit. Now, Vinyl Storage Solutions makes an extra large version, which I tried, and you can see it leaves like this fringe on the edge. So the height is good. So the jackets there aren't square. They're tall, and they're not long enough to fill these out. So they're just kind of floppy and goofy looking, in my opinion. So I did not bother to put the other 5 I got in this season in the fancy Vinyl Storage Solutions jacket. So we've got the clear record, pressed at QRP. We have the weird giant gatefold jacket. And then we get this as an insert. And you might think this is going to be liner notes, but it is not. This is Churchill Down, a fictional work in 6 chapters by Tim Sultan, chapter 1. So every other month, every time you get a record, it came with an insert, and it had the next part of this original fiction that was made just for this season of Newvelle Records. I never read any of them, but maybe that's something that will be interesting to you. The mastering chain is a little bit interesting, and just like the audio chain in general. When you look at the runout info, you've got it's got the master disc stamp in it. So these records were mastered at Masterdisc in New York by Alex DeTurk, and the Newvelle website gets into some details about the setup. So they say we recorded East Side Sound in New York City. Mostly vintage and some tube microphones, all analog and some tube preamps. All the inputs are run through and some through an entirely analog console that has no analog to digital converters or no digital to analog converters anywhere. We strive to keep our signal chain as short and clean as possible. And then the very next thing they say is the medium of the recording is Pro Tools, which is a digital audio workstation. So these are all digital recordings, and that doesn't make them bad. But again, Newvelle's they're not aiming for the jazz audiophile market here. And they're not worried about it being an all analog start to finish process. So that might be off-putting to some of you. I don't know. I can tell you that I think the records sound really good for whatever that's worth. And if you are on the fence about that, I would say on the cheap you could get the Sony Legacy kind of blue, or any of the Sony Legacy Miles Davis reissues. Those are all digital, so if you don't mind that. Or to see kind of what like a boutique digital cut would be like of acoustic music, you could check out the State of the Tenor Volume 1 or 2 from the Tone Poet series. That might be better, but those are a little bit more expensive. So that would give you a sense of what it's like to hear a digital recording that's been mastered for vinyl, and whether that's going to be any kind of deal breaker for you. So, what is Newvelle doing here? Again, I think what they're selling is two things. They're selling kind of an experience, like a curated experience, and there's definitely like a club feel to it. I was getting newsletters. I was getting invited to events in New York City that I wouldn't be able to attend because I was in Los Angeles, but it would have been a really cool thing to do if I was able to. And also like a feeling of patronage, that what you're doing is you're supporting jazz musicians who are, continuing to evolve the style, and they're making new music and they're doing new things. And it was, if that appeals to you at all, I mean, that was one of the really fun things about this. I never knew what I was going to get. So let's talk about the specific records here. I just put the Noah Preminger down. Noah Preminger plays tenor sax. So we have quartet here, sax, piano, drums, and bass. This is called Preminger Plays Preminger because Noah Preminger's uncle was the composer Otto Preminger, who did the music for Anatomy of a Murder, did the music for Bunny Lake is Missing, River of No Return, The Cardinal, Bonjour Tristesse, Stalag 17. So this record is kind of weird. But in a great way. It's a pretty typical ensemble of kind of straight ahead jazz players, but then they're doing these interpretations of Noah Preminger's uncle's film music. And I got this record and had really no idea what to expect, and was blown away. It sounds great. The songs, I listen to this one pretty regularly. It's just a great record. So then the next month, what I got was Broken Shadows. Sorry, I'm holding that sideways. Hard to tell. Broken Shadows. And this one isn't in a gatefold, but again, same deal. Abstract painting on the cover. There is part 2 of the story, which I never read, in here somewhere. And Broken Shadows is not a straight ahead jazz combo playing their interpretation of the band leader's uncle's music. This is an Ornette Coleman free jazz tribute album here. So you've got songs by Ornette Coleman and Julius Hemphill, and this newer, younger group of musicians compared to some of the other people in the season doing their take on that. And the cool part about this one, if you aren't especially into Ornette Coleman and free jazz, you feel like it sounds kind of like a racket, is they're playing really inspired by Ornette Coleman, and they're definitely playing it in the free jazz style. If you don't know what that is, It's that the band gets together and they're not they're not playing predetermined music. They don't all need to be doing the same thing. Everybody's creating independently, but also collectively at the same time. Nothing's written down. It's just all improvised. So, some of these things are covers of Ornette Coleman songs, for example, like Una Muy Bonita. So there might be like a melody or a fragment of a melody that gets played, but then everybody's off into whatever they want to be doing. I would say that that Ornette Coleman album, Free Jazz on Atlantic Records, is one that I only play when I'm alone at the house because not everybody with me here likes to listen to it. It does sound kind of like a cacophonous mess a lot of the time. Um, Something about this Broken Shadows record, which was really interesting to me, is that because the idea of free jazz isn't like new or iconoclastic anymore, there's like a level of familiarity, I guess. Like everybody is confident and they know what they're doing again individually and collectively. That somehow makes the music like mesh together more. And I think the first time Ornette Coleman did this and recorded it for that album, I don't know, maybe it's hard to believe that Scott LaFaro was feeling unconfident or a little bit worried about what was going to happen. But maybe I don't know, something about it does sort of sound all over the place, like nobody's too sure of what's happening. And I don't know, like anxiety is maybe too strong a word, but music can kind of put people on edge. This is this is a record that probably doesn't sound as jarring to your average listener, but it is super adventurous and really kind of out there musically. Like if you're listening to it from a perspective of like, oh, like what are the chord changes now? There's not a lot to ground you in that. So it was a real study in contrast from the first record in season 4 to the second record in season 4. And then I was wondering like, what's going to happen in the third record? So the third record went in a totally different direction. Gregory, Tardy, and Bill Frisell. If you don't know who Gregory, Tardy, and Bill Frisell are, Gregory Tardy is a reed player, saxophone player, and Bill Frisell is a guitarist, and he plays electric and acoustic on this album. And that's it. There's no drummer, there's no bassist, there's no piano player. It's just duets between saxophone and guitar. And this album is really incredible. I mean, it sounds amazing. The compositions are really great. I don't know. It's an album. Again, this is one of the ones that I come back to pretty regularly from this season. So, one of the strengths of the Newvelle series, I think, is the kind of production team behind this. They have really interesting ideas about who to combine and themes for the albums or directions to take for making each record, and I guess how to curate a whole season and put together a really diverse set of new music. The fourth record was Billy Lester, Rufus Reid, and Matt Wilson. Billy Lester is a piano player. Rufus Reid and Matt Wilson are both highly experienced bass player and drummer, respectively, for the rhythm section. And this album is all standards. So that means that these are all songs whose names that you might have heard before, like Darn That Dream, or Scrapple from the Apple, or I Surrender Dear, How Deep is the Ocean, You'd Be So Nice to Come Home To. This is not the Billy Lester band, so this is like a pickup band, which means, if you don't know, you've got the band leader, Billy Lester, and then the rest of the band has just been assembled for that date. So you got Rufus Reid and you got Matt Wilson there, and of course, all of them know all these tunes. So what this really is a showcase for Billy Lester's, like what he's hearing in his head. And if you read the liner notes, which you can't do on the album, another thing, sorry, I forgot to tell you about this with the Newvelle Records, because of the 3 paintings on every jacket and the novella that is serialized and included, There's no liner notes, but you can look at them on the Newvelle Records website. So, Billy Lester's been playing for many, many decades, 40, 50 years at this point. So um, he has a highly developed sense of musical self and takes these tunes to, wherever he wants to in the moment, what he's hearing. And sometimes it is, notes that you might expect if you're familiar with these tunes that feel like, okay, they go with the chords that are happening there. And other times it's not. So this album has a great kind of push and pull with Billy Lester and the rhythm section where he takes them and the music out to weird places and then brings it back. And, the songs are all pretty tight. I think they're like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, I guess, is the longest one. Excuse me. So they're not these extended freeform jazz odysseys, as my friend Jeff likes to say. They're pretty contained. There's a lot of different songs here, and you get to hear Billy Lester play in a lot of different contexts of musical ideas. Fast songs, slow songs. He even sings on one of them, so that's pretty cool. Oh no, sorry. I think that's Hank Roberts. The same song, Back Home in Indiana, is on two of these, which is a little bit strange. Anyhow, the Billy Lester album was cool. It was a treat. The next one was Kenny Werner, Church on Mars. And this album was going to be interesting no matter what, because this is a group of musicians who have taught or still do teach at Berklee College of Music in Boston. And so these are not only highly accomplished jazz musicians that are working today, that are out there on the cutting edge of jazz, but they're also academics who spend a lot of time analyzing jazz and talking about jazz and teaching jazz. And so this is a working band, except the bassist here, James Genus, was a substitute for the bassist who had been playing with this band, who was Esperanza Spalding, who was sick on the day of the recording here. So, so you have, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like a highly intellectual form of jazz, of extremely talented musicians who know all their jazz history inside and out and are trying to do something new, who've been doing it together quite a bit. And then one new guy that got dropped in on the day, and to hear him hang is pretty great because he does. And so shout out to you, James Genus. Nice job. This one is real hard to describe, which I think, again, is another strength of the Newvelle series. I don't know. It's new music. So maybe in 30 years, somebody will look back and say, oh, yes, I know the name for like that style of jazz that Kenny Werner and that group were playing on that day, with Dave Liebman on soprano sax as maybe the namiest musician on that album. But I don't know the name of that idiom. It's just that was original contemporary music of 2018, played by some really great musicians. The season closed with Hank Roberts, Congeries of Ethereal Phenomena. Hank Roberts plays cello. So again, a little bit of an unusual look. We have the cello piano combo, I believe this was. And, cello is not your everyday instrument, although Ron Carter, famous jazz bassist, played cello on at least one album. Eric Dolphy's Outward Bound. I always get them mixed up. So again, this is one that's hard to describe. It's a virtuosic jazz cellist playing with a pretty typical trio lineup. Other than that, kind of doing whatever he wants. I can't say, oh, it's like post bop or it's modal. So that I enjoy that aspect of it, that these aren't things that you can kind of put in these historical boxes because it's too new. You know, like the Coltrane sound, or like, you know, avant-garde jazz or whatever, you know, it wasn't called that initially. It was just called the new thing, and that was actually Impulse Records. That was their tagline for a while, right? The new thing is on Impulse. So this is our new thing for now. So that appeals to you. I think the Newvelle Records are definitely worth checking out. You can go to their website. When I subscribed, one of the I don't know if it was a selling point, but one of the things they advertised was that these are never going to be released digitally. So they kind of walked that back a little bit. They have a very limited number of their albums available on Bandcamp that you can buy for $10. So you can check a couple of those out if you want. None of the season 4 records are on there, I think. These can be purchased individually. I think the Bill Frisell Gregory Tardy one is almost sold out. That might be the best one, just in terms of sheer originality and quality of the music and overall sound. But you know, it was a cool experience. I'm glad I did it. I didn't renew for season 5 for a couple of reasons. One is just, you know, finite resources. 2018 is right when the Tone Poet and Blue Note 80th anniversary series were coming out. So just doing the math on, like, okay, you've got 24 Blue Note 80th records coming out at $20 a pop, and then you have however many Tone Poets were announced in that first run, and those are a little bit more expensive at, you know, $30 a pop. It's going to add up pretty fast. So coming into another series of Newvelle Records where I didn't really know any of the musicians necessarily that were going to be featured in there, and didn't know if I liked the music. I just decided, you know, not to do it. One of the things that's happened since then is that there's definitely a echelon of jazz vinyl now that has gotten way more expensive than these $67 per record records. You've got the Craft One Steps; those are $100 a pop. The Music Matters SRXs, if they ever do those again, will probably be $100. Last time they were $75. You've got the Mobile Fidelity One Steps; those are $100 or $125. You've got the Analog Productions UHQRs; those are $100. Now, these aren't any sort of special vinyl. Again, they're not made for jazz audiophiles, but just like the cost for a new record that you're adding to your collection used to just be kind of ridiculously higher than other things that were available. Like the Music Matters SRX records, when they first came out, were $59 or $60. So these were titles that you were getting as a blind buy. They weren't as premium in terms of their packaging and signal chain, and you didn't know what you were getting. So, you know, it might not have made sense. Now, it might not be so crazy, especially because you can buy them a la carte. So that's the deal with the Newvelle Records season 4 from my perspective. I'm glad I did it. I'm sad that, you know, one of the many victims of the pandemic was the Newvelle stuff. Looks like they stopped after season 5. If they start up for a season 6, I might try to budget differently and get involved with it again, because it was cool to get the emails about things that were happening with the Newvelle Records and the recording studios and the listening events they were having for members, and you could attend recording sessions. They did a good job on delivering on the promise of like the community feel, and you're really supporting new music. And you know, I learned a lot and heard a lot of cool new stuff. And if Noah Preminger ever makes it down to Miami, I'll know to go see him now. So this is the first new music review on this channel. Stay tuned for Bill Charlap Trio Street of Dreams. And I'm going to try to branch out from just talking about the pressing quality or the signal chain in Kevin Gray's mastering rig, or Ryan K. Smith at Sterling Sound, and talking about some some things that maybe you haven't streamed to death on Spotify. You've been listening to jazz for many years now. Once again, thank you. And if you know what this one is, let me know in the comments. If you got a request for a record to review, let me know about that too. If I have it, I'll do it. Thanks for watching.